Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Tahoe Chamber State of the South Shore, a community forum that's unique because we rarely get to hear from all four of our major local jurisdictions here on the South Shore at one forum. So let me introduce the folks who are with us here on the panel this evening as folks join into the session. My name is Steve Teixeira, and I'm the moderator of this panel this evening. With me is the new Chamber CEO, Mike Glover. If you see, he's in the center of your screen there. And the panelists who will be presenting this evening, in addition to Mike, are Mayor Devin Middlebrook from the city of South Lake Tahoe, District 5 Supervisor Sue Novasel from Dorado County, Mark Gardner, who's chair of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners, and Julie Regan, the Deputy Director and Chief of External Affairs for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. And again, we welcome all of you this evening. Let me tell you a little bit about the forum. We will ask each of our presenters in order to make their presentation, starting off with opening remarks from our new CEO, Mike Glover. And when we get through all the presentations, we're going to have you put your questions in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Many of you are familiar with how to operate on Zoom. And if you have a question before we get to the Q&A, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box, and then we'll get to that. We will wait till all the presentations are completed, and then we will go to questions and answers, and happy to direct those to the appropriate panel member or to all of them about what they presented. And again, the goal here is to get a flavor for what's happening in each of the jurisdictions. What are the things they've been working on? What's ahead for the year? What are some of the challenges, opportunities? And again, this is a unique forum where we can hear from all four at one sitting. So having said that, let me again welcome all the folks who are joining us on Zoom. This is being recorded, so we will have it available for folks to look at again or for the first time subsequent to this evening. This does double as our annual Chamber membership meeting, and we welcome all of you who are members of the Chamber. Thank you very much for your support through this particularly challenging time. And if you are not a member of the Chamber, you can certainly get information on how to join by going to tahoechamber.org, looking at the membership section, ringing up one of our staff members who can help you with that process. So it's my pleasure to have handed the baton off as CEO recently to Mike Glover. Mike comes to us from Oregon, has a lot of Chamber-specific experience and previous Tahoe experience too. So I'd like to welcome Mike Glover. Mike.
Steve, thanks for that welcome. I appreciate that. It is great, to be back in the Tahoe Basin, and I do mean back because this is where I got started. I started my professional career at Heavenly, just up the road, and then from there I went to the Incline Village Crystal Bay Visitors Bureau for a pretty long spell. I was also director of sales and marketing for several resort hotels, including casinos. Then most recently, I was the CEO of Visit Bend, which is the destination marketing organization for Bend, Oregon. And that's how I ended up in Oregon. I was also most currently the CEO of the Hood River Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. So I've got a pretty good balanced background in chambers. I'm an accredited chamber executive and tourism. And I have a master's in parks, recreation, and tourism. So I think it's apropos that I was able to come back to Tahoe and take over this organization. And thank you, Steve, for handing that baton and handing over the organization in good shape and in good health. I really appreciate that. And so speaking of the chamber, let's talk a little bit about some of our direction as we move forward and we move out of the pandemic. We will continue to be a 3C Chamber of Commerce. And what we mean by that is the 3 C's stand for convener, catalyst, and champion. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how we plan on doing that. As a champion for the community, we'll once again be going forward and producing a couple of our signature events. So we will be hosting and producing Sample the Sierra this year, as well as the Business Expo. Those will both be coming back online and live. So that's a big step for us moving forward to champion the community and get people out and also bring people in to be familiar with our community. As a convener, we will continue as the chamber, and especially with Steve's help on the government affairs side, we'll continue to have a seat at the table for those very important discussions, for the kind of situations that are impacting our community. We are taking a really hard look and being involved in workforce housing, both from an attainability and an affordability standpoint. We want to make sure that that aligns closely with workforce development. It doesn't do us any good if we can get staff, if they get here and then they can't find a place to live. So we're going to be at the table for both of those conversations, as well as infrastructure and transportation, because we realize that those also align closely with those other issues that we're going to be dealing with. We are really looking forward to being a catalyst, that'll be the third C, in bringing the Tahoe 2025 vision to reality. That was an undertaking from the chamber involving a lot of community partners about where we thought, and where those, more importantly, where those stakeholders and those partners thought that our community should be heading in the year 2025. And there's some very good strategic goals in that. And I encourage you to go onto our website, tahoechamber.org, and take a look at that. It's fascinating to see what the consensus was of things that we needed to address. And we will be instrumental in making that vision a reality. I'd also like to add a fourth C. I really consider the chamber to be in a unique position as a connector. Our purpose really is to provide the opportunity for businesses to band together and be their voice and accomplish things that no single business could accomplish on their own. And that's the primary directive for any chamber. I'm easy to get a hold of, mike@tahoechamber.org. Email me anytime. I am happy to respond and reply. And I am looking forward to getting out into the community more and meeting as many of you in person as I can. Thanks, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it very much. Again, a big Tahoe welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you.
To you as the new Tahoe Chamber CEO. We appreciate your comments. Okay, we're going to move on to our presentation now, and it's an honor to introduce someone I've known for a long time, now the mayor of the city of South Lake Tahoe, Mr. Devin Middlebrook. Devin.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for letting me participate in tonight's event. Let's see. As a theme that I'm sure will be very common through tonight's presentations from our esteemed guests, COVID-19 has really shaped the last 2 years of our community and will continue to shape our community as we go into the future. We are actually about a week away from the 2-year anniversary of those first lockdowns. And this data is pulled from the county, Dorado County, county-wide numbers. And as you can see, we've made it past the latest Omicron surge. And while the pandemic is not over, we need to start looking at what that next phase looks like. Throughout this pandemic, the city has contributed $1.2 million in general fund reserves, not federal stimulus money, not state stimulus money, but local dollars towards our residents and businesses. We also worked with Dorado County to help vaccinate almost 20% of our community's population. So as we go forward through COVID, we're going to continue being proactive in addressing the challenges the pandemic presents. One of those longer term challenges is our new residents and the population growth we experienced in the COVID boom. These numbers are from the Tahoe Prosperity Center. From 2019 to 2020, you can see our population basin-wide rose by 3,200 residents. So this is spread out across the basin. But within our community here on the South Shore, we all know that this is happening, and it has both positive and negative impacts on our community. And I think something that poses a great opportunity for us if we can correctly leverage it. On that negative side, though, our housing prices have seen a massive increase. Between in the last 9 years, housing prices have tripled for a median price around the basin of $950,000. For the South Shore, that's a little bit lower, but the picture is the same. And you can see by the chart, all of the housing prices in the Tahoe Basin are outpacing and more expensive than our counties as a whole that surround us. And unfortunately, our wages have not kept up. The median wage in Tahoe for a couple is still around $53,000. So currently there are no houses on the market for sale that this couple making our median wages could afford to buy. And that is a challenge for our local residents, our quality of life, our environment, and our business community. And if that wasn't enough for us, we had a year of fire and smoke culminating with the Caldor fire and the evacuation of the entire South Shore. Layering on the challenges that climate change is not only presenting for the future, but the impacts that climate change is having on us today. So this is something that we as a community need to collectively address in order to create a more resilient future. But I'm not here tonight to share all doom and gloom. I'm actually here to share what I think is some exciting news. The new strategic plan for the city of South Lake Tahoe is really designed to address all of these issues and create a brighter future for our community. We have a unique mountain culture and community that stems from our immediate connection to the lake, its forests, and its peaks. This extraordinary geography shapes our days, our homes, our routines, our thinking, and our wellness. Trails connect our back doors to town and to wilderness with parks, farmers markets, ski slopes, art, breweries, and more dotting the landscape. The combination of living wage jobs with a myriad of all-season recreation, whether water, snow, dirt, or sky, means that our community intellect matches athleticism and adventure, creates both work and family. While we celebrate tourism, we are also consciously building a broader and more resilient future-focused economy, leveraging our short distance from our nearby urban centers. Small businesses anchor redevelopments that add character, provide quality jobs, and revitalize their surroundings. Attractive transit makes it easy to link both your feet, bikes, and skis with boats, buses, and gondolas to reliably get around the community on your own schedule. Our leaders show political courage and accountability, support one another in innovating, and reflect the range of ages, races, ethnicities, and classes that make up our city. While visitors and tourists can readily find diverse accommodations, families and service workers can afford to live in South Lake Tahoe with ready access to exceptional schools, high-speed broadband, and top-notch physical and mental health. Living in South Lake Tahoe is not only desirable, but it's absolutely possible. And now I'm going to go into a few ways that the city has started to implement and reach towards this dream. Within our built environment, we all know that our community and our environment are very much linked, but our built environment, our aging infrastructure from the 1960s and the run up to the Winter Olympics doesn't always match that character around us. The city of South Lake Tahoe and the voters have passed this last year a 1% sales tax increase, Measure S. And this is allowing us to take more pride in ownership. We've paved in the last 4 years 7.5 miles of roadway, and we've got even more than that scheduled for the next 5 years. We've invested in new snow equipment to ensure that our roads and our community is safe during extreme weather events like we experienced in December. And as I mentioned, climate change is an overarching theme that is changing the environment around us and the aspects of how we have to become more resilient. We need our community to reduce our contribution to greenhouse gases and global warming. That's why we became the first city in the nation to have 100% renewable electricity goal by 2030. But that is not enough. We also need to be prepared for the changes we know that are coming, such as wildfires. So we've been implementing many programs to become more climate resilient. Next, we really want to focus on recreation and equitable access. We all love and live in Tahoe because of the great outdoors, but not all of us have an equal opportunity to enjoy those outdoors. Ski passes are expensive, kayaks are expensive, mountain bikes are expensive. So we need to provide as a city more opportunities for every one of our community members to get out and enjoy the outdoors. The project that's probably the most exciting on our horizon this year that we are breaking ground on is the new multi-generational recreation facility at 56 acres. The city of South Lake Tahoe, in gracious partnership with Dorado County, have updated the 56 acres master plan, which includes revitalizing and re-energizing that space, keeping the existing uses such as the campground and the library and the ice rink, but then bringing in this new recreational facility and really making this a central hub for both visitors and residents to enjoy everything Tahoe has to offer. But it's not just about those big projects. It's the small projects, including all of the bike trails that we have planned, improvements and renovations to Bijou Park that are scheduled, and projects like Ski Run Community Park, which is bringing a pocket park to a community that is currently lacking any access to parks within a walking distance and is also primarily low income and Hispanic. Talking about the community and making sure everyone has access to the recreation outdoors, everyone should also have the ability to call Tahoe home, to live, work, and play. Over the last several years, our city has risen to the crisis of the affordable housing, of the lack of affordable housing, and have invested in many different projects, from large scale projects like the Sugar Pine Village, where we leveraged $1.8 million of local funds into $85 million of state and federal grants and tax credits. This is 248 units and the largest housing development that'll be happening in the South Shore. We've also worked with St. Joseph's Land Trust to construct, which will soon be constructed, 3 individual homes in El Tahoe that will be actually sold for ownership. So it's about the full spectrum of housing, from rentals to ownership. We've also launched a new program with Landing Locals that incentivizes second homeowners to lease their empty homes to local residents. And this year we hope to place 100 locals in rooms through this program. And making Tahoe a community for all, one of the programs I'm extremely proud of is our sister city relationship with the city of Ameca in Mexico. Over 20% of our community is Hispanic, and many of them originate from this region. And you can see our former mayor, Miss Lane, and the mayor from Ameca enjoying the partnership we have, and it's already proving fruitful with the donation by South Tahoe Refuse of some garbage trucks for their community. South Tahoe Public Utility District is involved. And the city of South Lake Tahoe currently has a multicultural alliance, which is meeting and providing at the end of the year recommendations to the city on how we can be more inclusive in everything that we do, from making all of our meeting materials available in Spanish to potentially hosting community events that celebrate the cultural diversity of our community. And while housing and creating a community full of art and inclusion is important, if no one has high quality paying jobs to afford anything in this community and call this community home, that really is all for naught. So economic development is a focus that we really are turning our attention to at the city. This month, we'll be having a strategic retreat on this very topic. We need to figure out the role that local government has in providing the underlying infrastructure needed, such as broadband, for businesses and entrepreneurs to thrive. We're happily participating with the Tahoe Prosperity Center in the Envision Tahoe process to update the basin's prosperity plan and identifying how the city can best use its resources to support local businesses and, in turn, all of the people that call Tahoe home. Finally, we always want to become better. We always want to improve. So I couldn't be talking about all these great things we're doing, all these innovative pieces, without shouting out our hardworking staff members. There's many, many people that work for the city every day, making sure all of the basic things function. So our job as city council members can be looking towards the future. And just want to call out, our public safety staff, our firefighters, our policemen, for doing their jobs, especially during the Caldor fire, and keeping the community safe. So I've enjoyed speaking here today. I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentations. I would just say to continue to get engaged with the city as we move forward with all these ideas, where all the community is, their input is needed and their help is needed in moving these forward. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we've got some great events coming up later this month. So thank you, Steve, for having me, and I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I love the beer with the mayor. Looks like that's on April 18th. I think you've had one of those already and heading towards another. But it is a great opportunity. Our local officials are accessible, and I know they love to hear from you, not just at city council meetings, but at meetings throughout the community. And if you have any questions for Mayor Middlebrook, based on his presentation this evening, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. And after each presentation, we'll invite people to do that, and then we'll take on the questions from you at the end of all 4 presentations. So again, it was great to have Mayor Middlebrook here, and Another person that I've had the opportunity to know and work with for many years is Sue Novasel, Supervisor Novasel, a long career in public service as an elected official on the school board, and now coming into her final year as an El Dorado County Supervisor. She'll be termed out at the end of this year, but I know she will remain active always as a leader and a member of our community. So Supervisor Novasel, welcome to the program, and thanks in advance for the information you're going to share.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate the opportunity here this evening to talk to everybody. Yeah, it's been 20 years of a career that I have thoroughly enjoyed. And you know, at the end of this year, I'll be handing the reins over to someone new. And I really want to just spend a little time here tonight talking about where we've been and why we are here. I'm going to try to share this screen here. Oh, and I forgot to hit the share button. Hang on one second here. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Let me get the share button going and see if we can get that. Hit the share. There we go. And is that okay, Steve?
Not seeing it right now.
So maybe you want to bring that in. I hit the share button, but perhaps it didn't go through. Let me try it again.
There we go. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Thank you. And let me see if I can get this over where I can control it. Are you going to help me with this?
Yes, I have your.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. If you'll.
I will jump in to help. Thanks, Elle.
Thank you, Al. So yeah, so this will be a presentation. Again, I wanted to start off with some basics about the county, because a lot of people, some of the first questions I get from my constituents are, what does a county supervisor do? So yeah, here's some county basics. El Dorado County is one of the 27 original counties founded in 1850 during the beginnings of our gold rush in California. And we have a population of about 190,000 total, runs from almost Folsom Lake all the way up here to South Lake Tahoe, and then up west shore to Tahoma. So quite a bit of area. We have 2 incorporated cities, Placerville and South Lake Tahoe, and they represent a little over 17%, which is important because a lot of counties have a lot of incorporated cities. So it's rare to find a county that has so little of incorporated cities, which means we have a little more work to do in general. El Dorado County is divided into 5 districts. I'm District 5, which is from Tahoma up on the west shore, down through South Lake Tahoe, the city, and then down over the grade and into Pollock Pines. And I just will say that at the Caldor fire, when we were at our worst, I live in Christmas Valley, I was evacuated for 15 days, like many of you. Every single one of my constituents was evacuated on that day, where we were evacuated out of South Lake Tahoe. So that, I think, is almost a first. So it was quite an event for everybody. So if we go on to the next slide, and we can talk about some of the basics. And I did want to kind of show you that yellow part. That's my district. And where they had a redistricting, we did a little redistricting from the last census, but it didn't truly hit too much of District 5. Moved me a little bit over west, but not much. You know, and for those of old timers, you remember we used to have 2 county supervisors up here in Lake Tahoe when we had more of a population and there was less of a population in El Dorado Hills in particular. And as El Dorado Hills has grown, my reach on District 5 has it's been moving further west. So that's why I do we have to have by law a same amount of percentage of population. So it moves my district further and further west as we have growth in the west slope. So next slide. So I just want to give everybody a little overview of what we look like as far as an org chart. I always ask all my department heads to give me an org chart because it's so large. We have almost 1,900 employees in our county and 14 departments and 7 other, besides the Board of Supervisors, 7 other electeds. And so it's quite large, and it gets very confusing for people to understand who does what, and certainly myself included. It's nice to have an org chart where you understand, but you'll see at the very top, there's citizens of El Dorado County, incredibly important. You are our bosses, and the board of 5 of us, we are the overseers of, and pretty much we are the ones that kind of look at the duties and kind of the overview of the county, and set the, we kind of set the strategic plan, set the ideas in motion to move forward. But then we have our CAO, who is basically equally would be like a city manager. He manages everything within the county. And through that, he has all these departments that he takes care of. So it's quite a large lift on his part. We are on the Board of Supervisors. We take care of the policy and the strategic plan, and it's his duty to go from there. So, you know, big shout out to our CAO. He does a great job. And next slide there. Thank you. So, and what I want to show you here are our 3 levels of service, because it does get so confusing in that county has 3 main areas of work, as opposed to the city of South Lake Tahoe. They're a municipality, and that's completely different and much more independent type of service. The county basically is an arm of the state. So for the state, we provide social and health services. But then within the county, we provide county functions, our elections and tax collection, similar things like that. But then we also have some of the municipality type of services that we use, which would be such as animal control, sheriff, snow removal, build our roads. That is separate, and that would be in the unincorporated areas of the county. So the city of South Lake Tahoe as a municipality has their own roads, planning and building and all that. And so, you know, there's some overlap, but in that third situation there, we all have our own work cut out for us. So at our state mandated and funded services, health and human services is huge. That's our largest department. There we're talking about our homeless, our children that need help, you know, foster care, wherever you talk about any kind of public health and services, that's there. And it is big, and it's incredibly important. We also have our veteran services that we provide to our veterans, both on the West Shore and here in Tahoe. All right, so next. So some of my duties. Another thing everyone asks, well, what exactly is your day like? Well, my day is filled with a lot of meetings because I am the only representative to all these Tahoe commissions and boards. And I take that very seriously, and I attend these meetings. And probably one of the biggest is TRPA, and Julie Regan will be here a little bit to talk about TRPA and where they're at. But I'm very proud to be on their board and to serve as the chair of Local Government and Housing Committee, which we talk about all things local. We have all of our local jurisdictions, and we sit in and talk about, you know, where can we change, what can we do, anything from climate change to the AIS issues of invasive species in Lake Tahoe, keeping our lake beautiful and blue. That's all a part of that conversation. I also sit on the Tahoe Transportation District, incredibly important in that TRPA just finished the regional transportation plan, and so it's their duty and our duty to move that forward. And there's a lot of collaboration right now going on, which we can touch upon later. But you know, that's a huge lift. And then even the things such as our solid waste JPA. JPA stands for Joint Powers Authority. And so with that, we have, as we do many of these JPAs, are a combination, a collaboration of other jurisdictions. And with our solid waste, we have Douglas County, the city of South Lake Tahoe, and El Dorado County, and we all work towards solid waste, which you might think is pretty easy, but Hank the Tank has kind of taken over a conversation lately, and that's a big part of our conversation. We just had a meeting talking recently about, you know, what can we do as far as making sure we keep our garbage out and away. So that's a big topic, and you know, all of these different duties of mine take a lot of time and there's a lot of responsibility, but I absolutely enjoy it, and I think it's important that you understand we do have a voice of Lake Tahoe in all these committees. Very important to me. Thank you. So on to the next, where it lies ahead. So we're talking 2022 issues. well, COVID, and as Mayor Middlebrook just brought out, we're talking about the reopening and the fallout of the last 2 years of being in a world pandemic, and what does that do to us, and how do we move forward? Obviously, our small businesses have been hurt so severely, and we in the county and in the city, everyone's been working very hard to try to keep everybody as open as possible and move forward. And it's been an interesting time because like it or not, we've had more tourism because people are not getting in planes, they're getting in their cars and driving up to us, which we love, and yet it's made for some unique challenges as well as opportunities. And part of that is our budget, and I'll go into that in a second. But we've experienced a better budget than we thought, similar to the state, because of what has happened. And a lot of it has been this increase in movement that we thought would not happen. We've actually had more revenues and less spending because we were very concerned. No one knew what a pandemic could do possibly. So we all had very conservative budgets, and because of that, it's taken over in a life of its own, I should say. So let's get down to 2022-23 budget. Well, the good news is, and it's great news, we have a big surplus at the state and at our county level. And so what we're doing with that is exactly as that's saying there, is we have to prepare for the budget starting in January, and we move forward. It started actually in the fall, but in January, start talking about all the different departments, those 14 departments, where our budget issues are, challenges, opportunities, and how do we move forward with a balanced budget, which has to, by law there, has to happen every year. And by the end of June, we get a pretty good idea of what that next year is going to look like. Our budget year is from July to June. So by this June, we will have a real good idea and be able to talk more about how the specifics go. But basically, I will let you know that we've had in the 2021-22 year, a $9.8 million surplus within our county. And that has come by $3 million in additional sales and use tax, $2.5 million in additional TOT, and $4.3 million in the public safety sales tax, which goes to our law enforcement. So we have some extra money here this year, and it's really great to see. And what we are talking about at this point is looking at making sure that all of our revenues are at a point that that we can take care of things such as capital improvements, road maintenance, huge. That's number one on our project list, and we are addressing that and adding any money where we need to, and really taking a good close look at all that. So. Thank you. So again, we have a strong position this year, but our concerns, of course, and especially with the war starting in Europe and what that's going to do with gas prices, and it's going to cause greater inflation. So we're going to be taking still a relatively conservative approach to our budget, understanding that tourism especially is very much represented in a very, very interesting position in that, when you have less money, you spend less on things such as vacations. So we're trying to be very careful in looking at where our money comes from and how we are spending it. Again, we do have these next numbers here show you what we've done in the last year. 3.3 million of money, extra money went into road maintenance. Again, we are an arm of the state. It's up to the state generally to pay for our road maintenance, but that hasn't happened. So we've had to use our general fund and discretionary funds to help make up for that. And so that's where it's at 3.3 and $500,000 of TOT this last year was dedicated just in replacing old snow removal equipment, and that will continue. Our talks are to increase that again this year with general fund money to work on snow removal equipment because it is old, it's tough. We have a parcel tax of $60 a year for those that live in the Tahoe Basin. In the unincorporated area for snow removal, we just can't keep up. It's about $400,000 a year for operation and maintenance, and it just is not enough. So we've been taking it out of our general fund and putting it towards new snow removal equipment, leasing new equipment, I should say. and that's been helpful. We've also used our additional TOT money to hire a new code enforcement officer who will be working exclusively on vacation rentals. You may know that we have a cap on our vacation rentals, and we have various other ordinance changes that we've made, been very, very active in that. And I believe it's going to be making a big difference, in particular in the next couple of years as we start talking about clustering and start really start to see an impact. I do believe it's going to be a big impact as we move forward. Lake Valley, we provided them $570,000 to address tourist impacts. That's a big part of our new TOT program, is to start talking about impacts of tourism and start putting that money back into our local agencies, such as Lake Valley Fire and other agencies that are impacted, that have to use their resources to take care of tourist impacts. And those TOT funds should be going that way. So we've been very much working hard to make sure that those funds go into that kind of program. Also, our Board of Supervisors will be discussing a ballot measure to increase TOT. It has not been increased from the 10% base bottom. And so we are talking about getting something on the ballot in November that will increase the TOT funding to allow for increased money in maintenance and snow removal. And I would like to try, and I'm going to be hitting this pretty hard, is also getting some extra money for our transportation needs, understanding that we have a regional issue of transportation. I would like, frankly, to see our trolleys back if possible, but at the very least, I'd like to see microtransit moving forward in the unincorporated area of our county, and we need to step up and be a part of that conversation and be a part of that funding. So very, very, very important to me that we are moving forward on that. So next slide. Thank you. You can go on to the next one from there. I'm trying to hit this crystal ball as we go. Staff development. Same issue in the county that we're having in the city and everywhere else in the state. We just can't hire enough employees. We have made a great gains in getting our employees up to a level where they are at least at the median of where they should be getting paid. We have 11 unions in our county, and we're working very, very hard because we understand that a happy workforce, and it is one that is getting paid and being able to live a standard of life that they can, at least exactly what the mayor hit on was, being able to pay for their rent, and it is basics. It's very, very important to us. So we are we've been working very hard with our unions to work on staff and how we get funding for them. Governor has a new proposal he just came out with this week called the Care Court. And the Care Court is going to be, it's a proposal, it's not a program yet. He's just asking us all to take a look at it in county and levels and the actual court systems, talking about homeless people that are in particular need of mental health services. And we know they're out there. It's not a huge lift at this point. He says he's talking about it. 6% of the population of homeless have these needs. And his idea is to get them off the street, get them the care they need, and to find housing for them. And these, again, are the most critical. He's saying somewhere between 7,000 to 12,000 individuals. But I do believe the need is quite higher than that. So it's a good start. It's a great conversation, but it's just the beginning. So stay tuned for that. I do think the idea of taking care of our homeless, and especially the ones that have need for mental health services, I think this is possibly a good program to help them. And then that again was touched on by Mayor Middleton, was the Middlebrook, excuse me, was the city-county collaboration on the 56 acres. Great great, very, very excited. Great collaboration. I want to say our manager, county manager, Don Ashton, and the city manager, Joe Irvin, have done an excellent job of collaborating. And I'm very proud that we have gone to an agreement, and we're going to be moving forward on the master plan for the 56 acres. It is our central park of South Lake Tahoe, and I'm very excited about that. And I'll go over the rest of these real quickly. Broadband, we have over $2 million set aside for a match grant when the infrastructure bills come forward, talking about broadband and the pilot program. I'm happy to say we're looking at a project for the county in South Lake Tahoe area. So stay tuned for that. Housing and homeless, again, huge issues that we are trying very hard to work on. Very, very proud of the coalition, the Tahoe Coalition, that has taken the lead for our entire county to get people out of homelessness and into homes using the room key and home key programs. And transportation, again, a top program, seeing if we can get a regional system moving. That takes collaboration of all of our 4 counties and city of South Lake Tahoe working together in a regional way, and that will be touched upon later. And then the vacation rentals, of course, we have a cap, we have a clustering ordinance, and it's just a matter of making sure, in my mind, that we make sure we get our enforcement moving forward. Slow process, yes. Frustrating, yes, but it is moving forward, and I am proud of the county for all of us understanding that tourism there's a balance there between our needs of small businesses and using our tourism as an industry, understanding that, and then the needs of our neighborhood compatibility. So there's a balance to be had there, I feel. Okay, so at that, I think I just want to say thank you all very much. I look forward to any questions you have, and thank you again for allowing me the privilege the last 20 years of serving the area of South Lake Tahoe. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Novasel. Well done. Appreciate it very much. There are a couple questions for you already in the Q&A box, and we'll get to those. And again, for everybody, including those of you who joined after the very beginning, please, if you have questions for any of our panelists, put them in the Q&A box, and we'll address them at the end of the final presentation. Right now, we have the honor of welcoming to this forum Mark Gardner, Douglas County Commissioner. Mark is the current commission chair. He represents the southern part of the county. It's interesting in Douglas County that unlike El Dorado, where Supervisor Novasel represents District 5, only the people in District 5 vote for that office. And it's the same way District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In Douglas County, you have to live in a district and you have to run and represent that district, but you are elected by everybody in the county. And so you're really, everybody in the county is your constituent. And I know Commissioner Gardner is keenly aware of that. So even though he's from the south part of the county, he knows that he's got to be eyes and ears everywhere throughout the county. So Mark, it's a pleasure to welcome you, and thanks for your service this year as the chair of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity. Good evening, folks. And once again, thanks for inviting me to present on behalf of Douglas County this evening. Steve was you mentioned that how we operate a little bit differently from perhaps other counties, certainly within this in this area, but from California. Our supervisors are not called supervisors. Our supervisors are called commissioners, but it basically shares the same role. As Steve mentioned, the interesting thing about our county is also that we have no incorporated cities within our county. So therefore, the Douglas County Board of Commissioners is the sole governing body within our county. We comprise, our census showed in 2020, we're just slightly under 50,000 residents, of which we have a huge population of senior citizens in our county to the tune of around 30%. So that just shows some of our demographics. Geographically, of course, we share Lake Tahoe with California, and a lot of people always talk about the lake. Let's go to the lake. Let's go to the lake. And I have to remind them that there's another lake within Douglas County. It's called Topaz Lake. We also share that with California, Mono County, I believe it is. And that happens to be the lake where I live in the south end of the county. So we actually share two lakes with California. So with that being said, I'm going to focus primarily tonight on our, let's see, and I'm trying to see how all I have to do is press, I thought I pressed, yes, okay. So anyways, focusing a little bit on obviously, as everybody is talking, the continuation of COVID-19 pandemic. Fortunately, within our county, we weren't hugely affected by the pandemic, not only from a health standpoint, but also a standpoint. As Supervisor Novasel said, her county, El Dorado County, did not necessarily experience a tremendous downturn of economics, nor did Douglas County for that matter. And so we were blessed with that. We feel like a lot of that had to do with the fact that people were traveling less on airplanes going to folks, to places, and instead enjoying the aspects of what we call more than likely a local staycation, traveling from different parts of not only Nevada, but California, and enjoying the aspects of that Lake Tahoe has to offer. The majority of my comments tonight are going to focus on what's going on with our county in the Lake Tahoe region. But please understand also that we have two pretty much distinct areas of our county, not only Lake Tahoe, but also the valley floor that it incorporates the townships of Genoa, Minden, and Gardnerville. So I'll concentrate my main points on what's going on in our county in the Lake Tahoe area, and then I'll talk a little bit about what's going on the valley floor. As you understand, we did experience two, and once again I call 21 the year of disasters. Besides the COVID-19 pandemic, on July 20th, 21st, we had the Tamarack fire that started in Alpine County, encroach into Nevada and South County, Nevada, particularly in my district. And unfortunately, we had 12 families lose everything they had in that fire, and we're starting to try to help them rebuild. Something we've done for those families economically is we've reduced their property taxes, and all of their building fees have been waived to try to get them back in operation on their property. We collaborated hugely on that fire with Alpine County in opening up our senior center and community center to refugees from California coming down and having to wait out of the Martinville area and other parts of Alpine County. We just got over that, and then we, as you know, we experienced the Calder fire, and it took out a substantial part of El Dorado County, and that was very unfortunate. It threatened Douglas County, and we were very fortunate that it never did get into Douglas County, but we were glad to be able to house those refugees from the Calder fire in El Dorado County, also again at our community center. And so we were glad that we were able to provide that assistance to our neighboring counties and communities. As you understand, we're, as California is, we're continuing to have extreme drought across the region, and it's having a tremendous impact, certainly on Douglas County. We get most of our water, obviously, off of the Carson River, and that our snowfall hasn't provided us with the continued amount of snowfall and flow of the river to keep our area as green as we would like to see. So anyways, I won't focus on that too much more, but let's talk about what we're experiencing here in Douglas County going forward. The American Rescue Plan Act funds have been distributed, and we were awarded $9.5 million. For those of you who are not aware of it, any entity within the United States that has received under $10 million is really kind of exempt from having to follow all of the ARPA rules that have been established by the federal government and in regards to loss of revenue. So anyways, we are going to be, these funds are one-time funds. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but one-time funds. So we will not be starting any new programs or increasing staff levels that would be incumbent upon those funds to provide. We are going to be, I think it's December of 2025, I believe, is when those funds expire, and so we are now at this time as a county seeking input from our public on how we might allocate those funds. So I'll have something else to say about that in a few minutes. I don't have a slide because honestly, it's more into you folks because you live up in that area, and you probably are driving by the South Lake Tahoe Events and Convention Center on a daily basis. So you have probably a better perspective than I do on how that's progressing. It's my understanding that facility will be opening in early of 2023, and certainly we're anxious to see the success of that and what it brings to economically to both South Lake Tahoe and Dorado County, and of course Douglas County, and especially apparently during the shoulder seasons when the economy takes a little bit of a dip because of either the boating goes away or the snow and the skiing goes away. So at two different times a year. Last year, as you know, the Lakeside Inn closed up, and we're very happy to have Barton come in and indicate that they're going to tear down that building and build an orthopedic center right at Highway 50 and the Kingsbury Grade area across the street from the Tahoe Transportation Center. So hopefully that'll help some revitalization of that and provide additional healthcare for services for certainly for the Tahoe Basin. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Highway 50 corridor plan. We just met myself and the commissioner that is from Lake Tahoe Township, Wes Rice, who serves on many of the boards with Supervisor Novasel. Anyways, so we met with the representatives from MDOT on this, and I wanted to give you some dates, give the public some dates of some public forums that are going to be taking place up there on March 30th from 11 to 1. MDOT will be up there presenting at the Douglas County Library in Glenbrook. Subsequently, the following day, they'll have at the offices of the Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority on the 31st from 4 to 6, taking public input. And then on April 2nd, from 10 to 2 at the Kale Community Center, right there on 50 and Kingsbury Grade. So anyways, I think what they're talking about doing here in between State Line and Spooner Summit, and perhaps some restriping and repurposing of some of that corridor will be beneficial to the area and try to relieve some of the traffic issues that, and certainly safety issues that are experienced in that corridor. So we welcome the input of the residents up in that area, both on both sides of the border, to attend those summits, to attend those workshops, and participate and let us know what they think about that. Supervisor Novasel also indicated their issues with vacation home rentals, and I can tell you, my first year on the board this last year, it was certainly eye-opening, and we spent an enormous amount of time in my thought process on our vacation home rental ordinance in the township. Douglas County does not allow vacation home rentals, short-term rentals, at any other location other than the Tahoe Township. We worked, while we were putting this into place, we felt it important to, rather than allow the program to expand on the previous ordinances, we did in February of last year institute a moratorium on any new vacation home rental permits until we could get our ordinance in place. And the majority of our Board of Commissioners meetings between February and July were tied up on that one subject, vacation home rentals. We're trying to work hard to strike a balance between the property rights of individuals who are permanent residents and the property rights of folks who own property but want to rent out a short, making a quality of life balance as well. So anyways, we've done some interesting things there. I think it would behoove the other counties in the surrounding Lake Tahoe to take a look at our ordinance. We think it's very fair and very equitable, and addresses, we hope, the majority of our problems. We first passed this, completed our and put the ordinance in place on July 15th of last year, and I made presentations to the Chamber of Commerce and other community service organizations saying that nobody, and I do mean nobody, including myself, would be completely happy with every aspect of the ordinance, and that still holds true. Anyways, we put that in place. We have a maximum of 600 vacation home rentals. We have found that those folks that own their property and actually occupy their property, what we call a true host, those are not our issues. And so from that 600 cap that we set, our true hosts are exempted from that cap. And so we did design a tier program, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Our tier 1s are our true hosts, and they're exempted from the cap. Our tier 2 are occupancy up to 10, and then our tier 3, which are for occupancy homes that are available for rent that would have 11 or more occupants. The other aspect of that is that to get a tier 3 permit, you must go before our vacation home rental advisory board. So we did put in place an advisory board. We've designated a sheriff's deputy, and we've hired additional code enforcement officers to try to bring this program under control. We were having a tremendous problem with renters up there leaving their leftover foodstuffs out for local animals. Anyways, we're requiring bear boxes now on those. Unfortunately, it wasn't shortly after that we found ourselves in a lawsuit, and so a group of 9 plaintiffs in the Tahoe Township, most of them actually from outside, even not only that don't even live in the Tahoe Township, but are not even residents of Nevada or California. They happen to be out of state, even out of those 2 states. So anyways, we found ourselves in a federally filed lawsuit over our vacation home rentals. And so we have been working with a federal judge in Las Vegas, Judge Jones, and the plaintiffs in working through the different complaints that they had. And I'm proud to say that last Thursday at our Board of Commissioners meeting, we finally signed a settlement agreement that will bring our vacation home rental ordinance back into compliance with what the federal judge wants, and what we felt was important as commissioners to protect the life quality of our permanent residents of the Tahoe Township. And so almost everything that we asked for and was in the original ordinance has remained in place, and we're very excited about that and getting this into place, letting it work, and seeing how it plays out, and then making further tweaks, as I indicated earlier. Not one person in our county, including myself, is completely happy with all the aspects of the ordinance. So with that, I think I probably should talk a little bit about what's going on in the other geographical area of our county that's not necessarily related to the lake or Tahoe Lake. As I indicated earlier, we're getting 9.5 million in ARPA funds, and I noticed during my campaign last year, a couple of years ago, that we have a JLEC center, a Judicial and Law Enforcement Center in Minden that is now at 42 years, and was built when we had 19,000 residents in our county. We're now at, like I said, just under 50,000. We've had no expansion of that building, and that is a tremendous need for our community to address our law enforcement issues. That building currently houses our jail, houses our sheriff's department, houses 3 courtrooms, 2 district courts, and an East Fork Justice of the Peace, and also houses all of our district attorneys. And that makes it a very, very restrained building. So we allocated $3 million this last year in our last budget to acquire property not far from our current center to look at relocation and what I would call a new judicial and civic complex. So we have our county offices stretched out over a number of buildings throughout our county, and it's and then we're running out of space in those buildings as well. And so because of our population growth and what's going on, so we need to house all of that in one location, one central location. So we're looking at purchasing land here in the next several months before the close of this fiscal year, and then looking at methods and opportunities to finance the construction of a new, as I call it, a civic and judicial complex. So hopefully we're going to go forward with that. For those of you who don't know, we entered into 2 years ago, 2019, we entered into what was called the Park Development Agreement, which included the development of a road around the corridor of 395 through our business section called Moeller Lane. And so we have a requirement within our county to build that road by the end of we have 3 more years to build it. So that's going to take a lot of effort on behalf of the county and the Board of Commissioners as well. We're going to have to focus heavily on that as well. For those of you who did not hear recently, just over the last week, we've been informed of the desire of, we have several major landowners in our county, but the 2 primary ones are David Park and Park Managed Holdings, but also Chris and Camille Bentley, who own a tremendous amount of land and also opened a multi-million-dollar distillery in our county a couple years ago. And so they have indicated their desire to basically divest of all of their interests within Douglas County. As I understand it, all of their property is basically now on the market. Certainly we wanted the Bentley Heritage Distillery is a masterpiece along 395 and the use of some historical buildings. And so we certainly want to work with them in trying to find an acceptable answer to that. And we're reaching out to different entities to see how we can possibly accommodate both the Bentleys and the and keep that property in its current form. So with that, Steve, I really don't have a whole lot more to say. I hope that's an adequate presentation for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we appreciate your time and the information you shared. And again, if anybody has questions for Commission Chairman Gardner, we can take those at the end. You can put those in the Q&A box. And I want to turn now to our next presenter. Julie Regan is the Deputy Director and the Chief of External Affairs at the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. And they have also been very busy with the things this year. And so Julie, welcome to the forum.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Regan, Deputy Director of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, or TRPA. It is my pleasure to represent TRPA and our board here on the virtual stage with our local leaders. Hats off to our elected officials who just spoke. Thank you all so much for your service to the South Shore community. Much has already been covered tonight, so I will do my best to connect the dots of all that's been said and focus my remarks on how TRPA is here to support the important work of our local government colleagues, plus the myriad other partners that make this community what it is. If I had to pick one word for the state of the South Shore, I'm going to join Commissioner Gardner and say optimistic. More than just my natural tendency for unsinkable buoyancy, I think we are coming out of the past 2 years of crisis swinging for the fences. So here's a few words on why. To say we're living in unprecedented times is an understatement. COVID turned our world upside down. The Caldor fire drove us from our homes for weeks, as has been mentioned, even longer for me and my family because of the choking smoke. Temperatures are getting hotter and there is no such thing anymore as a fire season in the West. But while our climate is changing, our community resolve is not. The grit of our Tahoe community never ceases to amaze me, and it continues to shine in the face of adversity. It seems intensifying challenges are coming at us like bolts of lightning, and the only option we have is to transform them into opportunities and be kind to one another. This is a time to reinvigorate ourselves, to draw closer and remain stronger together. That's why I'm optimistic about our future here in Tahoe. It's often said we have an alphabet soup of agencies at the lake, so let's spend a minute on TRPA's role in all of this and how Tahoe truly lives up to the saying that here the environment is the economy and the economy is the environment. More than 50 years ago now, the states of California and Nevada formed a bi-state compact, which the US Congress approved to form TRPA. We are very unique in how we're structured in the United States, and for good reason. Lake Tahoe could very well be a giant mud puddle today were it not for the foresight to cross jurisdictional lines and form a regional government entity to protect this special place. Today, 50 years later, we are a leader of regional collaboration that is driving environmental restoration initiatives. TRPA has a key leadership role in the Lake Tahoe Environmental Improvement Program, or EIP, which has resulted in the investment of more than $2.6 billion. Yes, 2.6 billion with a B since 1997. I am pleased to report that just today, we received word from congressional sources that Tahoe is poised to receive nearly $30 million in federal funding in the budget deal soon to be passed by Congress. This is a record level of funding under our most recent Lake Tahoe Restoration Act that will benefit our forests, meadows, water infrastructure, transportation, and of course, our world famous clarity of the lake. And TRPA is really proud to play an active role in the partnership that helps secure this vital funding. And here's why it matters. Let's talk about forest health. Our forests are dry and ready to burn. Year after year in the Sierra, wildfire records are being broken, and we are currently in the worst drought in more than 1,000 years. The fires in Southern California this winter underscore that fire seasons don't really end anymore. Incidents like the Caldor, Tamarack, and Dixie fires of last year, as we've discussed this evening, are getting bigger and more destructive. Yet, when a mega fire came into the Tahoe Basin, years of preparation came into play, and that preparation mattered. I still get goosebumps just thinking back to the evacuation last summer, having to watch the Caldor fire roar into the basin. I know that I am one of many residents of Christmas Valley, like Supervisor Novasel, who could have lost everything that night. But instead of wholesale destruction, Lake Tahoe was largely spared. A professional and highly trained firefighting team, many homeowners who did their defensible space, and years of forest fuel reduction work all came together to save Lake Tahoe. Out of the 10,000 acres that burned inside the basin, nearly 1/3 of the area had already been treated to reduce hazardous fuels. Because of this work, firefighters could defend our homes and avoid the catastrophic losses we all sadly expected. So that means we need to do more defensible space around our homes and neighborhoods, and more evacuation preparedness, and more forest thinning to reduce the fuel loading. For our part, TRPA has worked for many years to ensure basin policies and partnerships are increasing the pace and scale of fuel reduction to make Tahoe's forests more resilient and our communities safer. TRPA helped form the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team following the devastating Angora fire in 2007 that destroyed more than 250 homes right here on the South Shore. Formation of the TFFT, as we call it, brought 21 agencies together to achieve greater coordination, better homeowner engagement and readiness, streamlined policies to expedite forest fuel reduction projects, and increased funding. As you can see on the slide, a lot has been accomplished on the ground, and we're so proud of the incredible partnership that has gone into the acres treated and the community commitment to wildfire preparedness. TRPA forest health policy changes have allowed homeowners greater flexibility in tree removal and expanded options for hand crews working in Tahoe's sensitive stream environment zones, including the use of mechanized equipment in sensitive stream zones over snow and frozen ground. Through the Environmental Improvement Program, we have continually helped secure the funding needed to continue this work, and records amount of federal and state funding will also be flowing into the basin over the next 6 years to the tune of another $100 million in new forest health funding from federal and state sources. And this is the kind of work that only comes from epic collaboration. We just announced that the TRPA Governing Board also rounded out the needed policy changes with an approval to use mechanical equipment on steeper slopes throughout the basin. Approximately 61,000 acres in the basin have slopes from a gradient of 30 to 50%, and nearly half are in the wildland urban interface defense and threat zones near community where fuel reduction work needs to be more intense. So this policy change is a game changer indeed for the basin, and we're really proud that we were able to come together working with the community to get this done. We're also starting to treat much larger interconnected areas such as the 60,000 acre landscape resilience project known as Lake Tahoe West. This is planned to encompass most of the forests on the west shore of Lake Tahoe. Had the Caldor fire spread there, we may not have been as fortunate as we were. Moving into invasive species, from the forest to the lake, we are under threat. Not only are aquatic invasive weeds already here, spreading in the shallow areas around the lake and within the Tahoe Keys, but the number of boats that have been intercepted at watercraft inspection stations carrying invasive mussels is also on the rise. Last year set a record of 28 boats detected with invasive mussels on board, which was a 40% increase over the prior year. Even more boats were coming in with other kinds of invasive species. TRPA and our partners at the Tahoe Resource Conservation District have managed the highly successful watercraft inspection program since 2008 so that we can intercept those boats and not let them get into Lake Tahoe. Over those 13 years, the program has inspected more than 100,000 boats and decontaminated thousands. In that time, we are proud to say there have been no new invasive species detected in Lake Tahoe. What you can expect from that program this year is even greater efficiency as the online appointment system for inspection really gets going. We opened appointments for this season just last week and had more than 100 summer appointments booked in one day. Obviously, people are ready to get out on the lake. This is building reliability and convenience, which helps strengthen the program. In addition, we developed an award-winning education campaign that helps boaters prepare for inspections. We know the clean, drain, dry message works to lower the risk, and that our campaign must continue because the threat is real. Controlling invasive weeds that are already in the lake also took a leap forward this year with a historic unanimous approval of a weed control methods test being approved by the TRPA Governing Board and the Lahontan Water Board unanimously. These invasive weeds are thriving here, threatening native species, recreation, and the entire ecosystem. There's been enough press around the control methods test in the Tahoe Keys already, so I won't get too far into the details. The reason this is such a critical project is that climate change is creating more suitable habitat for these harmful weeds in more areas and through more of the year. The approved project tests innovative weed control methods, including EPA certified aquatic herbicides, UV light treatments, and an underwater aeration system to see what will work just in the lagoons of the Tahoe Keys and nowhere else in the lake. Hats off to the Keys Property Owners Association for stepping up to move this permit and project forward. And we expect that to start later this spring with intense monitoring to make sure the test is safe and successful. TRPA, the Forest Service, and the Tahoe Fund are also partnering on one of the largest aquatic invasive weeds projects in the basin in the Taylor and Talat Creek Marsh behind Baldwin Beach. It's a 17-acre treatment area using large mats called bottom barriers to cover infested areas of the marsh for a year or more to starve the weeds of sunlight. When it comes to the threat of invasive species to our lakes and streams, it is critical that we take action now, as climate change can rob us of control if we take too long to act. Moving into housing, much has been said already about the situation we find ourselves in, the emergency around workforce housing, but I will just call attention to a few points and echo that there is more work to do. TRPA formed the Tahoe Living Working Group to remove barriers to workforce housing, to add incentives for conversions and small apartments, to streamline permit processes and get more affordable housing on the ground. As Mayor Middlebrook said, the 248 unit Sugar Pine Village affordable and achievable housing project at the Y is going to be a signature example of Tahoe's epic collaboration. I am proud to say that TRPA approved that project in record time, and it has incredible momentum on the way to groundbreaking. Other projects like the Silver Dollar Apartments, improved policies on accessory dwelling units, you may have heard them called ADUs, motel conversions, etc., are helping on this front. And TRPA also played a key role in helping the Tahoe Coalition for the Homeless pursue and receive Project Homekey Grant Awards from the state of California that converted 3 motels on the South Shore into 70 units of safe housing for our veterans and seniors who were living in our community without shelter. Again, solutions need to come from all directions on a challenge that is happening in mountain resort communities around the entire country. Let's talk a little bit more about tourism. Tahoe's bread and butter. Our regional economy runs on tourism, always had, always will. But how is that future going to look? Let's talk about how we can affect some positive change there. Tahoe, like many other destinations, can be loved to death if we don't begin to regionally manage visitation and the popularity of outdoor recreation among both our residents and our visitors. The question being asked here and in destinations around the world is, how do you not ruin a place as beautiful as Lake Tahoe when your community relies on tourism to drive the economy? Tourism means everything to our communities, but how can we do it better? So let's talk about the numbers. We estimate 15 million visitors a year coming here to support this $5.1 billion annual regional economy. Without a strong economy, quality of life goes down, economically disadvantaged people suffer even more, and we can't invest in aging infrastructure and environmental restoration. It isn't about whether or not we should have visitors, it's about how we do this better. Again, how do we solve problems in Tahoe? We do it by working together. The pandemic and increasing negative impacts from visitation created an opportunity for TRPA to convene the visitors authorities, marketing experts, public land managers, the private sector, and more to begin managing visitation and outdoor recreation more sustainably. We started during the pandemic by forming a response framework and coordinating committees, including the city, the counties, visitors authorities, north and south, the Forest Service, state parks, Clean Tahoe, great nonprofit partners like the League to Save Lake Tahoe and the Tahoe Fund. And we were able to share information and coordinate immediate response to erupting issues that had all of us frustrated with some bad behaviors out there. Some specific actions that you might have seen over the last year or two, the Take Care campaign, for example. We really worked hard to coordinate regional messages with so many confusing messages out there during the pandemic about masking guidelines, social distancing. We relied on this incredible campaign to tell the story about Tahoe and truly drive the message home. It's our responsibility, all of us, to take care of Tahoe. If it's your dog, it's your duty. That's my personal favorite of the Take Care campaign. We also help coordinate north to south traveler responsibility pledges with campaigns like Know Before You Go and other really common sense, respectful messages to get into the hands of our visiting public because people were craving the outdoors after being cooped up in the COVID pandemic. We also help support regional ambassador programs like the city's rangers to help manage recreation hotspots while better serving our visitors and giving them the information that they need to do the right thing. Parking enforcement and management is an ongoing challenge, but a couple examples of work in progress. Nevada was able to raise parking fines around the East Shore and Sand Harbor to really deter that kind of illegal parking that we all loathe on the highways and sides of the roads. And the Forest Service has converted the Bayview Campground at Emerald Bay to permanent parking and are looking at a lot of other ideas around Emerald Bay as part of our corridor planning to improve safety and the overall experience. And now we're taking it to the next level. These diverse organizations have always been working in the same orbit and now have agreed to come together around shared goals so that instead of just marketing for tourism, we are managing tourism. On to transportation. Tourism and transportation are attached at the hip, and Tahoe needs transportation solutions to manage visitation as much as we need them for seasonal and full-time residents. TRPA adopted a new regional transportation plan last year that finally better connects all the amazing transportation improvements and trails that have been coming forward over the years. Our trail network is incredible. We have made so much progress, have so much more to do, and we have a plan to get there. Once fully funded, and there is a lot of work to do here, the plan will help get people out of their cars with more frequent, reliable transit options, parking management around the basin, and using technology to manage peak travel demand, all in the service of the rising number of day use visitors driving into the basin from surrounding population centers, which are ever increasing. We are currently running at a $20 million annual shortfall, and all hands are on deck to solve this funding challenge right now. So really, in looking at all that we've covered tonight, I truly think this quote is a great way to end our session. I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. I am proud to have worked with all of you over the years to get things done, and I am so optimistic about doing the impossible in the days ahead. Thank you all for your attention tonight, and I will turn it back over to Steve Teixeira. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. And while Julie was talking, the news came through that the House of Representatives has passed the budget bill that she referred to, where there's a total of $29.2 million coming to Tahoe for federal fiscal year 2022, which we're already more than halfway through. But nonetheless, now the Senate needs to act. What we hear is that will happen and then needs to be signed by the president. And so that it does take a lot of collaboration, but it was really a good news day for Tahoe from that perspective. So Julie, thank you for covering so many important topics. And I want to thank Supervisor Novasel. I know you answered a couple questions in the chat. Part of that was around, how does the county budget for rainy day fund, if you will, or reserve? I believe there is a policy, because people say, well, yeah, now we've got excess revenues or more than we anticipated, understanding it was a conservative budget. Is there a reserve policy in El Dorado?
Yes, in fact, we have a 3% contingency budget that we set aside every year, and we keep that at a very healthy level for reasons that we do want to stay very conservative in our estimates, and we also have quite a few other budgetary reserves, including, which I'm proud of, the capital outlay. We have a lot of old infrastructure that needs replaced that we can't do just by putting a little here and a little there. So the thought was to make a budgetary item just for our capital outlay to reserve for some of our aging facilities, and that has been growing every year. And then, I mentioned in the chat that we are understanding that PERS is an issue for our retirees, and so this year we set aside $1 million, just about $1 million for that fund, and we are every year increasing that to help pay for that issue. So we are taking a very conservative approach across the board and making sure that all of our reserves are in a very healthy position, understanding that could change any time, and just understanding after 20 years in government that it does happen. It will be going cyclical to up and down. That's just the way of the world. So we're being very conservative.
Thank you, Sue. And just so people know, PERS, Public Employee Retirement System.
Sorry. Yes, thank you.
No, that's okay. Just important for people to understand that. And it's something that's faced by all the local jurisdictions in California, including the city. And there's versions of it that are affecting other governments, like in Nevada. But Devin, if you could briefly summarize the difference that the sales tax increase that was voted on in 2020 by the voters of the city, what kind of a difference has that made to the city?
Yeah, Measure S, which is our sales tax increase, that has made a huge difference in the ability for our city to invest in our basic infrastructure that, as many people know, has been falling apart in our community since it went into effect in April 2021. We've raised about $5 million towards that. we've been able to pave roads, including Pioneer Trail, right in front of Bijou Elementary School on Spruce, and Lake Tahoe Boulevard by the high school. We've also been able to purchase and are currently working on installing a new communication system for our public safety officials. As we saw with the Caldor fire, communication is very key. And current system, there's areas of town, just like cell phones, where our firefighter and our policemen go and they can't radio back to their base. And that is extremely unsafe for everyone, really. So this new system is going to be state of the art and is also able to communicate with all of our partners across the region. So we have interconnectivity with all of the different fire districts and police departments in the region.
Great. No, I appreciate that. I know that that was a bit of a controversial topic to raise the sales tax, but it seems like it has been very beneficial for your infrastructure investments and your public safety investments. So thank you for that response. Commissioner Gardner, I know that there was a controversy, at least up here in this part of the county, when the county commission a couple of years ago decided that they wouldn't meet at Lake Tahoe any longer. And as the current chair of the commission, are you sensing any need to change that in any way? How do you see that issue?
Well, so interestingly enough, as we talked about the diversity and the geographical outlay of our county, okay, when I did some studies personally to look at that issue. And so, like I said, earlier, I live in Topaz Lake, and to get to our county seat in Minden, it takes me 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, and then from the Tahoe Transportation District to the Minden Historic Courthouse is also 30 to 35 minutes. So I want to be responsive to and open to all residents of Douglas County. And it seemed disproportionate to have 1/2 of our meetings in the Tahoe Township and ask our residents who had any issues whatsoever to come before the board to have to travel to the Tahoe Township to address those from South County, from North County, and Central County. So I actually supported the idea of having all of our Board of Commissioners meetings at our county seat in Minden. One thing that we have done recently is that and I'm a very fiscal conservative, and I was asked by our staff to take a look at moving our meeting times also to reduce the amount of overtime that our staff incurs when we extend past 5 o'clock or actually 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because it takes them about an hour and a half to wrap things up. So we have made a change in February, and now we're meeting at on the first and third Thursdays at 10 a.m. and then taking a lunch break, and that's allowing us to complete almost all of our business that we've seen so far, certainly before 4 in the afternoon. So we do take a lunch break if it's necessary, if it looks like we're going to extend past the noon hour. But so that's kind of the feeling of the Board of Commissioners, is that everybody is accommodated equally in our county by having them all of our meetings at the historic courthouse. So
thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. And,
sure.
and that leads to maybe a final question for all of you. During COVID, there's been a lot of meetings on Zoom or other virtual platforms, sometimes totally, sometimes more recently it's been a hybrid. As somebody that attends a lot of these meetings, I found that, it seems like more people can participate if there's at least a hybrid option. So I'll start with you, Julie. What's TRPA's thinking about that? I know you have board members from out of town, or maybe they come, but have you seen an increase in participation in the meetings, having a virtual platform available?
Thank you, Steve. Again, Julie Regan at TRPA. Yes, we have. We've actually had a lot of new engagement on the online platform. We are switching to the Zoom platform, which we're on tonight. We've been using GoToMeeting, and it's been difficult for some members of the community. It's not as intuitive as Zoom, so we'll be switching at our March governing board meeting, trying that out for a few months. And we do hope that we can get to a hybrid option. We do, as you mentioned, have board members that travel from other parts of both states, and particularly in inclement weather, which we hope we get some more of. It is a nice option for virtual engagement, not only just for the board, but for the public in terms of being able to participate and not be in inclement weather. So that's our hope, to move into a hybrid platform, but we will be using Zoom, and I think that will be a better experience for the community.
Yeah, in fact, there was Zoom today for the Advisory Planning Commission meeting, so I think it worked out pretty well. It does seem to be a little bit more intuitive than some of the other platforms. Devin, how has it worked with the city?
I think hybrid meetings are here to stay for the city, and that technology has actually allowed us to become even more inclusive in our meetings. As I mentioned, all of our city agendas are now published in Spanish, and we have live Spanish interpretation via Zoom for all of our meetings. So our city clerk, Susan Blankenship, has done an amazing job utilizing that hybrid technology to expand participation. But we do want to offer that in-person option, because sometimes in-person meetings get, that the connection between folks is important as well, but we definitely want to provide as many options as possible.
Thank you, sir. Sue, I know it's been back and forth with the county.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I love the hybrid option, because it gives people the option. They can either come into our county seat in Placerville and listen to us, or they can Zoom. And I think it's a great opportunity. We've had a lot more participation through the Zoom mechanism. And yeah, I have to say, I miss the in-person connection and networking, especially that you do when you're live and all. But there are times, and I agree with Julie, especially all of us out in Christmas Valley watching the rocks coming down this week. It's nice to have that option, not having to go down there if we have to. But I do want to say that I'm hopeful that we can get back to once a year meetings up in South Lake Tahoe, because it's important for our supervisors to understand what's going on in Tahoe. And it is over an hour away for many of them to drive to. So, it just once a year for them to get it. And I always include with them a lot of tours of the areas, whatever we're talking about. And it's incredibly important too. So kind of that hybrid all the way around, I think it's a good thing.
Thank you, Sue. And Commissioner Gardner, to finish up on this topic with you. Yes, I know very, very clearly that, from South County or from North County or from Tahoe down to Minden, it's a long drive for a lot of people. Do you see a hybrid option continuing to help that engagement from the broadly laid out Douglas County?
Well, and I'm glad, because I failed to mention that when you asked me the previous question, but yes, when COVID struck, our board almost immediately went into the hybrid meetings with Zoom, and that really limited the amount of public input that could occur. I'm a strong proponent of openness and transparency in government, especially at the county level. And so the previous board actually was limiting a lot of the public comment that was taking place. And we opened that back up last year. And we finally went back to in-person Board of Commissioners meetings in April of last year. But we've never have we excluded the Zoom process in that conversation. So we've been hybrid since last April of in-person Board of Commissioners meetings. The public is certainly welcome, and I enjoy and I highly rely on public comment as well to get a sense and feel for what the community is feeling. Sometimes not so pleasant, but but we all experience that. But but our public has always had the opportunity to participate on Zoom, and I don't see us exiting from that platform, or at least the hybrid process. There may be other platforms we use other than Zoom, but I believe that the feelings of our Board of Commissioners is that we will always have that option for our public to participate via this method. But I just so rely on body language and expressions and the personal input. So I prefer that, but I certainly want to give the public the opportunity to participate as well, as much as possible. So yes.
Thank you, sir. And on that note, on engagement, first of all, on behalf of CEO Mike Glover and myself and our board of directors chaired by Tiffany Sabaglo, I want to thank all of you, our guests this evening who participate in this panel. So Mayor Devin Middlebrook, Supervisor Sue Novasel, Commissioner Mark Gardner, and Julie Regan from TRPA. Thank you all so much for your time and your information. This forum will be available on our Chamber social media channels and on our website for any of you who missed it or wanted to tell your friends about it. You will be able to see it starting next week. And you know, engagement. I mean, this city has a lot more committees and local groups. All of the jurisdictions have opportunities to participate in a committee or committee meetings. And there is a local election in each of these jurisdictions this year, 2022, for City Council, for Douglas County Commission, for El Dorado Supervisors. So there's various ways for folks to participate at their local government level. It's really interesting. It's very important. These decisions affect us all, and we need to participate in the process. So again, thank you to all our guests. Thank you to those of you who joined us this evening. And from Tahoe Chamber, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.